Today you're going to see the start of the series of What's for Dinner at our house. We're going to see how we eat normally and make the best use of our food to keep our budget low with some splurges thrown in. And today I'm going to make hamburger barbecue, and as a side we're having the kicked up baked beans and the baked bean and butter bread meal for the hot lunches series. So we need a pound of ground beef. I already had it cooked and in the freezer ready to go. Saves time. And I'm going to add the following ingredients: a teaspoon of salt, which is optional. A lot of times I don't put that in because we have a half a cup of ketchup. Tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce, 2 tablespoons of white vinegar, a tablespoon of prepared mustard, and a tablespoon of sugar. You could use white or brown sugar. And there we have our ingredients. It also calls for a small onion chopped, and I already had this meat prepared, so I'm just going to use my dehydrated onion. I'll get this stirred up and simmer it for about 20-30 minutes just to get the flavors combined. Our barbecue's looking good. Hamburger barbecue. There's enough here for 4 nice sandwiches. We have our baked beans. And I'm going to do a side of grapes. If I didn't have fresh fruit, I would use fruit cocktail. We are having our sandwiches on this nice sourdough loaf instead of buns because that's what we have. And here's supper. Pappies. Leftover barbecue is also good if you use chips. If you have a side of chips and it falls on there and you use those to scoop it up. Sometimes I make French fries or tater tots as a side dish. Today I was going to rotate some pantry stock and have canned soup and crackers for supper, something easy. And the soup just didn't look right. I had 2 cans exactly the same, and one of them looked so different that I decided I'll just save that for lunch. The 1 can, get rid of the other one that just didn't look right, and have simple hamburger helper that's been in the cupboard. Got it for something else, never used it, can't even remember what. And my already cooked ground beef again to the rescue. And this was for something else. And I found this can of fire roasted corn in the pantry that needs used. So that's supper. And Pappy's home soon. So I'm running out of time. That wasn't hard. I'll just stir those potatoes in and be ready in about 20 minutes. And it called for 2 cups of milk along with the water. I thought that was a lot of milk to use up. So I used a can of evaporated that was gonna expire this year. I don't think we've had hamburger helper since I worked at the doctor's office, and Pappy cooked supper one night a week because I got home after dinner time. So he made supper for us on Mondays. Bubbling away, I hope it's good. The fire roasted corn was easy. Some butter in there and garlic salt concoction. And here's supper. Pappies. Welcome to this episode of What's for Dinner. I have some better cheddar smoked sausages that weren't quite thawed, but they were a lot more thawed than the chicken I got out that I wanted to make today. So And it was a good thing the chicken wasn't thawed, because I noticed the date on here for this coleslaw mix, because I bought two to illustrate for you for the hot lunch series, the very cheap hot lunches. I need to use this up. So I'm going to quickly thaw out my sausages. I'm gonna get them cut up and start sauteing them in some olive oil, maybe a little butter. Add my coleslaw mix, make like a smoked sausage and cabbage combination, and I'm gonna serve it over some mashed potatoes. Sounds pretty delicious for this chilly fall day. The sausages are thawed, so I drained the water. I'm gonna chop them up, heating up some olive oil and butter in this pan. Looks like we're sizzling. I'll get a little color on these, and then I'll add my coleslaw mix. I'm gonna just do some onion powder. I would do real onion, but I think Pappy wants to run some errands, and I don't want to smell like an onion today. And I'm gonna serve it over these mashed potatoes. I prefer real mashed potatoes. I guess these are real, just dehydrated. But I keep a couple of these in our pantry for emergencies. And in the fall, I take stock of what needs rotated. I feel that something yummy and flavorful like this over top of the instant potatoes would be better than just having them by themselves as a side dish. Although this brand, in my opinion, is one of the better tasting. But that's just my opinion. I decided to add a little caramelized onion butter seasoning, because I'm missing the onions. And here's what's for dinner. We have our smoked sausage with a coleslaw mix over mashed potatoes. And here's Pappy's. Getting ready to make chicken parmesan. We have some panko, our chicken breasts, eggs to make an egg wash, Parmesan cheese. I'm gonna have it with spaghetti squash, which has already been roasted. And I'm just gonna use some quick jarred sauce tonight and some cheese for topping. I'm going to pound the chicken. I have my egg to dip it in and my panko breadcrumbs ready. I'll just heat up the oil, pound the chicken, and get it in there to brown it on both sides. My chicken is pounded, well, sort of thin. I just wanted to even it out so it cooks evenly. And my goal is to have leftovers tonight. I'm going to saute my spaghetti squash in olive oil and garlic and Parmesan cheese. It's going to stand in for the noodles today. I'm taking the chicken, putting it in the egg wash, dredging it in the seasoned Italian panko, putting it on the plate, and then we'll take it over to the oil and fry it up. On our chicken sizzling in the olive oil. In our baking dish, I sprayed it. It's ready to go. Gonna preheat the oven. And our chicken sizzling away on the other side. I have a few more pieces to fry. I'll just get these in the baking dish. While I'm waiting for the chicken, I have some more olive oil in the pan and some of that roasted garlic I talked about in my last video. Can get that all heated up and add the spaghetti squash in. I seasoned the spaghetti squash. The garlic was starting to sizzle a little bit. I just used my favorite Italian seasoning from Trader Joe's. I'm just gonna let it heat up. and wait for the chicken. Chicken's starting to bubble. Oh, it smells so good. Chicken parms out of the oven. Oh, I wish you could smell it in here. It smells so delicious. Just waiting on the spaghetti squash now. Just needs to heat up. Well, the spaghetti squash is done. Just waiting for Pappy. And we can eat. Here's our chicken parm and spaghetti squash. And Pappy's. Today for supper, we're gonna make a barbecue cheddar meatloaf, roasted with some potatoes and carrots, and have cream corn and maybe even a salad on the side. We have our mixture of beef, pork, and veal, or you could just use beef and pork, or just ground beef or ground turkey. I have an egg, some red onion, celery already chopped up, roasted garlic, Worcestershire sauce, cheese, a Mexican blend, some barbecue sauce, mustard and ketchup, and I'm either going to use, I'll probably use oatmeal. You can use breadcrumbs. But before I get that mixed up, I'm going to wash and peel my vegetables and get them in the baking dish. In our bowl, I have about 1.25 pounds of meat, an egg, 1/2 cup of oatmeal. You could use breadcrumbs, a heaping tablespoon of ketchup, a heaping teaspoon of mustard, a heaping teaspoon of roasted garlic, 1/2 cup of chopped onion. I'm going to get my celery here in a minute. I wanted to thaw it out a little bit. It's about 1/2 cup too. And probably about 1/2 cup of barbecue sauce. And a tablespoon of Worcestershire. There we have our celery that I just washed and peeled, and chopped or sliced my carrot and potato, and put it in a sprayed 9x13 baking dish. And I prepared a second baking dish. Now we're gonna have leftovers with this. It's just me and Pappy, so we'll have it one night for dinner and possibly a sandwich or two left over. And this also cuts down on the baking time because the meatloaves will be smaller. So you'll use less energy that way. The electric oven uses a ton of electricity. I almost forgot the star of the show here, or a co-star, the cheese. So I'm going to mix that in. And I'm going to make a topping later on with some more barbecue sauce, brown sugar, ketchup, and mustard. But I'm going to put that on later. So there's one meatloaf, and I have it flattened out so I can put the topping on it here later. My goal is to get this done in about an hour and the vegetables to get roasted and caramelized all in those meat juices. Splitting it into 2 pans also cuts down on the amount of fat in the one pan, so we can more evenly coat the vegetables. And probably about a half an hour before it's done, halfway through, I'll top it because sugar burns. And here's our other one. I'm going to bake it at 375 and check it after the 30 minutes and top it. For my topping, I'm using about 1/2 cup of barbecue sauce, heaping tablespoon of ketchup, heaping teaspoon of mustard, and a heaping tablespoon of brown sugar. I'm checking on the meatloaves. They're not exuding as much fat as normal, and I wanted to check that. I didn't want to waste my olive oil if I had a lot of meat juices in there. So I'm going to drizzle with olive oil now and then season with my garlic salt grinder. And I already did the other pan. And here's our cheese and barbecue meatloaf, our roasted veggies, and some cream corn. And Pappy's. So there's some lunch leftovers. Pappy wanted cream corn and a piece of meatloaf, and I have a piece to make a sandwich or something. And then we have another dinner. Today has been a very busy day. So we are having minestrone with Italian sausage. Good old Campbell's chunky soup, but I'm making a fancy baby arugula salad. And Wegmans has this in a package with a lemon olive oil dressing and the shaved Parmesan cheese all together in a kit. It's pretty expensive though, so I'm having the cheapy version, the homemade kind. You want to roll your lemon so it gets nice and juicy, and wash it, cut it in half. We're gonna put the juice in the bowl. Just gonna take my little juicer here and see what we can get out of this lemon. I juiced the lemon, put about 2 tablespoons of olive oil, some salt and garlic powder to taste. I stirred it around with a fork and tasted the fork, and it was a little sour, so I added another tablespoon of olive oil. Unless you measure the lemon juice, which you could, it's hard to gauge, and also how sour the lemon is. I'm adding in this beautiful peppery arugula. It's so good for you. I'm gonna toss it, and then I'm gonna shave some Parmesan on top. This can of soup will be enough for me and Pappy with the salad on the side, and he's telling me today is National Chocolate Day, which means he may have a hankering for some type of dessert at some point. But if you need to stretch this, if you have like a pot roast type soup, I'd put it over rice, pasta, mashed potatoes. This, you could add a can of tomatoes, more water, more pasta, season it up more to help, you know, with stretching it like that. That's what I would do. Toasted cheese sandwich on the side, butter bread, garlic bread. Lots of ways to stretch a can of soup. I just used my little cheese grater here and grated some cheese for in the salad. It's very delicious. Your supper. Our Campbell's chunky sausage minestrone and an arugula salad with lemon and olive oil, Parmesan cheese. Pappy's. For supper tonight, apple dumplings with milk in a bowl. And Pappy's. And I didn't film making these, but I'll be making some again for friends and family. If you're interested in seeing footage like that, let me know in the comments. And powdered sugar is everywhere it wasn't before. If you missed getting it on something while you're making them, it'll go on to something while you're cleaning this mess up. If you'd like to see me mess up my house a little more like this, check out the Holiday Baking to Save Money series. Hope to see you on the next one.